All right, once I get confirmation you can hear me and this is working again, I'll pop it over.
Did you?
I started a new one. Kayla said first. I do
Damn it.
apologize. Maybe I've got to look at my setup here and look for faults because there might be a technical issue that I'm overlooking. Kayla can hear. Great.
Perfect.
Yoops. Yeah,
Oops.
sorry, Kitty Velociraptor. This thing. Working on it constantly. I try. Let me fix that. Now you can see Krista because I switched the program.
You can see me. Nobody ever sees me anymore, even though I'm
Right there.
right here, and I'll fix myself here.
Oh, God. Anyway, yeah. So how do you integrate that into yourself is what I'm getting at. When you find those outliers, is it something you integrate and like just...
With music?
No, anything. Like movies, music. Because like... Maybe there's some places it can't happen, I guess. Like people who are definitely against, like, let's say horror movies are a big strong line for people that say no horror for me. You know, when are they going to get exposed to something willingly or unwillingly? Like, are they going to be tricked and accidentally fall in love with the movie? So, like, that's the thing. How do you stumble upon something?
With horror movies in general,
Well, no, not specific to horror movie.
No,
I'm
I
just
know.
saying, like, there are some places or things that are just locked away by the person. Let's say, I don't like jazz. They'll say, I don't like... One of the doctors that works in my clinic says, I don't like rock and roll. I don't like jazz. I don't like the blues. I go, what the fuck do you listen to? Jesus Christ. The House?
The House on Netflix, I cried.
The House. Not the old House, right? Because there's a bunch of things called The House. Are we talking about that old horror movie? Because if that made you cry, I'm confused. But I'm not going to judge, because what if it did?
My playlist is full of songs I hear in TV shows and movies that catch my attention unexpectedly.
I had a whole gimmick. This is how old I was when it happened, but it was when we were burning CDs. So I had a whole CD, like a playlist of gimmick songs that included like the Ninja Rap and the Ninja Turtles theme song from the cartoon and other theme songs and anime and stuff. I don't know. It always felt weird. Oh, I'm going to have to check that out. I've not seen it.
New one.
Huh.
Dun, dun, dun.
A new one.
I'll tell you, I am not a huge fan of zombie movies, and the Train to Busan, whatever, I was ugly crying in that movie, and I did not expect it to hit me like it did because it's a stupid zombie movie. That's
But if
terrible.
you weren't forced to for the show, like to review it for PJ,
I would have never watched it.
That's the thing. Like, how do you? But that's part of it too. I've been recently looking for things to broaden my repertoire because all the stuff I'm into now feels a little stale. So as always, keeping with my consistent pattern of complete inconsistency, I'm looking for something new to latch on to. But then where do you look when the world is your oyster and every hobby that exists is available at your fingertips through the internet? You know, what do you look up?
Right. Just new
Everything
things.
is out there and you go, well, I don't know what I want.
Yeah.
Well, where do you start looking? I'm just like letting, like, my YouTube playlist now is a disaster. I'm just clicking on things that I shouldn't be. And it's stuff that I'm giving a shot, like, legitimately, and it's not working. I don't know. So there's another thing to consider when you're doing this sort of stuff is how do you, if you're looking for something to hit you unexpectedly or you want a pleasant surprise, because here's the thing. Be honest with me in the typing square. When a friend or family member recommends something to you, there's like 2/3 of your inner voice saying, no fucking way am I touching that. Right? Every time a friend or family member comes to you and says, oh, you got to listen to this or read this or watch this or whatever, you go, oh, ooh, you entertain the idea while they're in front of you, but you know, like, unless it's a special case, like it's someone you really, really knows your taste.
Yeah. That's true.
Because how do you take their word on it?
Yeah. I'll find what I'm talking about and link it to Discord. It was the house.
Yeah, I'll take it because
Yeah.
I'm interested. It's there was that, what is it called now? I can't pull the name, but there was that series of but that didn't really feel unexpected because everybody loves the Twilight Zone, the Outer Limits and stuff. Unless you're a weirdo. Growing up, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Those anthology horror shows, man, love those things too. Not that they're new, like that's as formulaic as SVU. I feel.
I love SVU. I don't know how I got into it because like my parents didn't watch it.
Yeah, some things you just don't even recognize the genesis of. They just sort of slide into your consciousness, and 10 years slip by, and you go, "Oh my God, I've recognized the entire memorized the entire catalog of SVU or whatever your thing may be."
Because like before we met, I'd seen a ton of them, but I have no idea where.
I don't know. It's one of those things where you just like wake up and it's syndication sometime.
Kayla was a total fan for Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah, Tales from the Crypt or like Tales from the Dark Side. Everybody had like a cheap knockoff. Yeah, but whatever. That's just the way it is. Like when they were releasing the 2 Meteor movies, the 2 Volcano movies, the 2 every time. Like now that I'm doing that movie review show, that comes up a lot too. Like everybody was just releasing a bunch of the same shit at the same time to be like, us too? And it still happens today. Ugh, it's just kind of annoying.
Hey, watch us. We're a thing. A book that I never thought would catch my attention growing up was Catcher in the Rye. Like, I was just in high school or whatever age I was reading it. I had to read it for English class, and then I became obsessed with it.
Yeah, well-told narratives are that's the thing that I always hammer home is like a well-told narrative rises above whatever genre or context. So, but that's okay. So here's another thing I think drives people away too about certain genres is the tropes that come along with them. So like fantasy tropes or sci-fi tropes are things that are sort of obnoxious. Let's be real. Or like action movie tropes. A lot of that shit is so passe. There's a very fine line you have to walk between sincerity and parody, maybe, because I mean everything turned up to 11 becomes awful.
Yeah. I never read Catcher in the Rye. The title didn't get my attention. I'll read Catcher in the Sourdough anyway, though.
Catcher in the Sourdough. Yeah, it's an amazing follow-up. And you pick it up in the Panera Bread. Like, when you walk into Starbucks and they have all those CDs, like Panera Bread will have Catcher in the Rye, Catcher in the Sourdough, Catcher and the Everything Bagel.
Well, then it goes, like you said, you go down a rabbit hole, and then I became obsessed with like collecting all of J.D. Salinger's works and his autobiographies. And
well, so pick something. Everybody involved, I want you to pick something and tell me what about it you liked, and maybe that'll help. Link it to something that because that's the thing. I don't think. If I were to point to, like, let's say the Dead South as an example, I just like the banjo music, but I've got no tie to it. But when there's a banjo involved, there's something. Maybe it's just because it's a unique gimmick to me, because I wasn't forced into a country. That's the thing. You basically come up loving the shit your parents listen to simply because it's your only choice. It's the same reason you love the one console your parents buy you and hate everything else, because you don't have them. You're growing up hearing these things. That's why I listen to the oldies and like the Beatles and the Beach Boys. I could still listen to today and have a fondness for it. I'm like, it's not really me. But how much of that carries on to your choice later in life?
right.
What if the thing that you're thinking is coming out of the blue is just reminding you strongly of the thing that you didn't necessarily like? Where are you in this mixture?
I have no idea.
It's just weird to think about. That's what these questions bring out to me, because well, where did that come from?
But it can go both ways though, where like I grew up listening to 80s rock and country with my parents, but then I was obsessed with Eminem when I realized that I can make my own decisions on what I like to listen
Right.
to.
So that's the thing. You can, there's two polar opposite directions you can go in every scenario, and then shades of gray everywhere in between. So if you are, raised in a situation where you go, okay, you have to listen to this, and then as soon as you let off the leash, you go crazy in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
So yeah, Eminem to you probably felt like the exact opposite, and like, fuck you, mom and dad.
I'm listening to somebody singing about mom's spaghetti.
Yeah.
Damn
So
it.
so what are you doing? Are you using the basis you have as a springboard to jump off into the pool that you're offered? Or are you like trying to jump further and like hit the next, get the concrete and start running in the exact opposite direction?
Probably the latter.
Right. Because those are your options. I feel like, because that's the thing, when it comes down to stuff like this and people argue about how can you like this or that, you don't know what shape lock that key is fitting, because you don't know how it was made. You can't go like, oh, well, when I was this age, this happened. It all culminates through the years to be like, oh, I love The Land Before Time, first trilogy, but after they, from 4 to 6, they get a little preachy or whatever your stupid thing, Cars, for instance, if you're one of those people. How do you say where it comes from or how you got it? And then how do you fill in that? Because here's the thing, I don't think anybody asks themselves these questions. People like to throw words like, oh, that's so random. I don't know. I randomly found it. That's just a random thing I randomly like. And they dismiss the core at the kernel as you. So it's interesting to see, or at least look at the weird things that you like that sort of break your own norms.
Yeah.
Because that's where you're going to find out most about yourself. Because if you go, I like old school, I would call old school metal nowadays, like Megadeth and Metallica and stuff like 90s grunge, like Nirvana. Because the cool kids that I was growing up with, aka my cousins, were listening to all this shit. Mm-hmm. And I go, oh, that's cool. So there's like a strong element of family and camaraderie, and there's a tie to it. So I don't know if I genuinely like that, or if it just gives me the warm fuzzies, because I remember having slumber parties and listening to Metallica. So what am I? I don't know. And where did they get that? Like, why did my cousins like the music they liked? Are they following in the trend? Do I feel helpless? You can see that's what I'm saying. You can see yourself as like lost if you start looking at it, but it's all in sundry. If you look and question why, there is no reason why. That's the thing. That's the point. Things pop because you identify them, because you built up a tolerance to them, because that's a part of it too. You can like anything you set your mind to.
Yeah.
No matter what the music is, if you're inundated with it or just have a pleasant experience tied to it, I think, for me anyway, I can't speak for anybody else, but I feel for me, if I see a music video and that's my first encounter with a song or a live performance with a song, that's a stronger tie than just hearing it on the radio. For instance.
Kale says, I'm not sure what you're looking for. It sounds like a joke, but I legitimately like Raffi's Banana Phone. I couldn't care less for the rest of his songs for toddlers, but I know that song by heart.
Right. And that's the thing. There are some pieces of media out there like that hit a spot that you can't explain, and then you sort of feel like weirded out and or embarrassed by, like you obviously feel here. Because like, how do you grapple that weirdness into the rest of your being, right? You go, well, I'm mostly this. I like this, 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 and this. So you feel like, oh, that's me. But then these things pop up and you go, what? Oh, and you feel a little bit weird, like it's an outlier. But I think those are the most interesting parts. That's why I gave the Ninja Turtles from 2014 a shot.
She says, I have a ton of songs I love that I found because it played in the background of a TV show. Never heard of those songs or bands before or since. Yeah. A lot of one-hit wonder songs that are like in shows.
Yeah, it's so strange too, because like, I don't know, now internalizing it, I guess, because I'm hearing songs in like ads for Audible that I'm really liking. That I'm like now thinking of proactively going and getting and finding out who the artist is or whatever, which I'm sure the artist would love. And that's the whole point of using their music. But it's never struck a chord with me before. Like or I should say not never, because I'm sure there are instances. But by and large, I just go, because you hear it so much, you don't want to fucking hear it recreationally when it's like something you have to sit through. You have to really break a barrier.
Yeah, yeah.
Like a theme, like the Friends theme song, like that was a song. But now, like, since it's so ubiquitous and you've heard it 14 zillion times, like hearing it recreationally is like doing something you do habitually at your job. It just feels gross that you have to sit through it like on your time, essentially.
Do you have any like favorite bands, but you hate some of their songs?
Yeah, I think everybody has that. Like, but you can't blame them. Bands are gonna try things that just don't Chumbawamba. Holy shit! Yeah, one hit wonder. Hello, welcome. Yeah, I think every artist and or group goes through a phase where like once per album, sometimes they'll dedicate like Garth Brooks with his Chris Gaines album bullshit. They'll do something that's sort of off brand, we'll say. There you go.
Mine is, so I love Journey. I've loved Journey for a long time. I saw them in concert with the not obviously not with Steve Perry, but I cannot stand the Wheels in the Sky song, even though it sounds like all of their other songs because they all sound similar. But every time like I have their best hits album or whatever, I always skip that when it comes up. I don't know why I hate it so much, but I just can't stand it.
Here's something to consider too, because like the mood you're in when you first experience, or if something happens to you while that thing is also simultaneously going on, can tie something
That's true.
to it, and maybe you just either forget or suppress or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get over because like I had to do the opposite of what we're talking about for the movie Super Troopers. I was going to see it with some friends and I was just in a shitty mood. I did not feel like seeing a movie or something. I was just pissed off. And I was like, I almost made it a point like I didn't want to like the movie, and it had to sort of win me over. But since it was so popular and so funny, like all my friends watched it, and obviously it won me over because it's a funny movie. But how you are feeling, the chemical cocktail in your brain as you're going into something has a big part of it too. Because he said, well, that's why. It was a strong trigger. You go, whew, I'm not actually a weirdo or whatever. I don't actually have to feel embarrassed or question the weird outside.
Right. Jill says, bands I just can't stand even though I'm told I'm supposed to. Fleetwood Mac.
I feel you hard there, like with Pink Floyd. Like, I get it. Like, if you like certain things, I said this about Dane Cook. I hated him. He was loud, obnoxious, and he sucked.
Oh my God, I thought he was hilarious.
I just waited for him to die out.
It was pretty quick.
Yeah, but that's the thing. A lot of stuff like these big pillars of the community, I feel the same way about, but obviously I'm in the wrong because they still stand. Like Fleetwood Mac is a huge thing still.
Right.
And people still like.
Kale says, I wasn't a big Journey fan until I heard Separate Ways in a scene in Tron Legacy, and that changed the whole band for me. I'm not a fan. Oh, yeah. Kale's not a fan of Fleetwood Mac either. But when I heard...
When I was in a band, we covered a Fleetwood Mac song, but that's...
Was it Leather and Lace?
No. It doesn't matter. I don't know. It was so long ago.
Dane Cook tried way too hard to make mundane things funny.
Yeah, hello. I was saying that the whole fucking 10 or 5 or 6 or 8 years he was going through his thing, and I kept saying, nope, it's not good, guys. You're going to be kicking yourselves. And they go, no, forever. Dane Cook forever. And they would give me the devil horns, and they go, ah.
I think I was like high school, maybe early college.
I'm not talking about Dane Cook. Screw it. I'm sorry I brought up Dane Cook. Just as an example. I don't talk about Dane Cook.
One song that gets me every time I hear it, and I hear it a lot because I listen to 90s in the car, is Last Kiss by Pearl Jam. It never got to me before until my adulthood. I didn't care about it before because I didn't listen to the words. I just listened to the music and not the words. And I was like, damn.
Yeah,
that's a sad song.
One of those things too. You can grow into a different appreciation of it, and that's some, there are things that, I mean, everything is deeper than just surface level, obviously. It's just how deep you want to jump into it or how much you want to overanalyze. And that's another aspect of it too. Is whenever you see someone listing something like the top 10 or this is better than that, or yada, yada, those are all opinion. Like there is no objective this or that. And having an experience with something good or bad can drastically change the way you see it from then on.
Apparently Last Kiss from Pearl Jam was a remake.
Yeah.
Oh.
It was an oldie. I thought it was good. When I heard it, I was like, oh, I know this song. I forget who sang it originally, but yeah, I heard that shit growing up. So when I heard them cover it, I was like, oh, whoa, because I actually confused it with, I thought it was Dave Matthews at first, but then obviously that was Eddie Vedder. By like a third of the song, I was like, oh yeah, there you go.
CNJ Dev became to appreciate David Bowie as he got older.
Never did I get into David Bowie. I had a coworker that tried to get me into Labyrinth, bounced like a BB off a brick wall. There was no slot for that key to come home to. I watched the whole thing just trying my hardest because it's Jim Henson and it's David, whatever, if you like David Bowie. And it was well done and everything, but I was just flatlining the whole time. And I felt so bad for her because she was really banking on me liking it.
Oh.
Woof. Didn't know. Mm-mm.
I'm sensing a pattern in how I like music and bands. I wasn't big on Bowie either until they used Golden Years in the movie A Knight's Tale.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Is like when here's a good example. Maybe you remember the movie Garden State, where everybody it blew up, and the soundtrack was just like this collection of just sort of mildly emo songs, and everybody. I was working at a record store when that popped too, so I'm overly sensitive about it, but it was just like, God damn it, get over it. And it was just like, Zach, what's his nuts? Just in a sappy, sad movie, whatever.
And I'm from New Jersey.
Jesus Christ. No, I wasn't blown away by Bowie's codpiece.
This is totally not Bowie, but I love the Scott Pilgrim versus the World soundtrack. I love the movie, but the soundtrack is badass. Yeah, I love it. Another
property that had a great soundtrack, but a bad movie. Tell me if I'm wrong here, Typeys. Remember Titan AE? That movie did not hold up. It was bad, I feel. Every time I try to go back and watch it, because I do have fond memories of it, because when I was an idiot kid, I liked it, and the soundtrack made it fine, right? But I went back and watched it as an adult, and every time I try to go back and touch upon it, I go, oh my God. Everything about this is bad.
I don't even know what it's about. I've never seen it.
Okay, so the broad strokes are Matt Damon and a lady I can't remember have to take a giant spaceship that has all the DNA in the extinct Earth in it and fight off energy aliens and basically make Earth again. Titan after Earth.
Ah.
And, oh God, Bill Pullman plays Matt Damon's dad in it. There's like weird alien species. And here's the thing. Not that I want to turn this into a rant about Titan AE, but if you're going to have a setting of space, right? Why would you make two of the aliens on your crew so similar? Like the what's her face alien and the other alien. Oh, what's her name? She was in Mystery Men too.
Janine Garofalo.
Janine Garofalo's alien and that other alien that had they were basically the same thing except she had big legs. When I first saw the movie, I thought they were just the male and female of the species, which I'm sure is not right. But draw another different, something different. Just a nitpick, and there was a lot of things to nitpick, but that was one that stuck in my craw. Because there's Janine Garofalo's alien looking pretty much like the other one. And he had a metal plate on his head. I see they tried, but it was just the same basic face shape. They're basically furries.
CNJ Dev says Superbad was actually super bad. No one remembers anything from it besides McLovin, which was funny for a minute.
Yeah, the gimmicks of those raunchy comedy era things, whatever. I I went along with it because I had no choice and all my friends were into it, but I knew they were going to last. Like, I can still go back and watch Super Troopers and Beer Fest and the like. Even like Basketball and Night at the Roxbury. Those were two from my past. I bet would still hold up, to me at least.
Jill says, Alita Battle Angel?
Oh, really?
I've never even heard of that.
Huh. It was like, God, CGI, I want to say. That was about a girl who was also a robot. I'm also bad at this.
Oh, I got her in the feels. Kayla liked Titan AE, but the story felt to me very similar to animated version of The Hobbit.
Yeah, okay. CJ Dev, I agree with you with the Kevin Smith comment. I believe he is also overblown. He's overrated. I think he's a funny guy. I think he cashes a lot of checks by being charismatic and stuff. And there are some genuine hits. But, you know, that's the thing. Is like if you can trick an audience into thinking that what you're doing is deep, they'll sink their teeth in and fight to the death over it. Like that, like, I don't know, whatever, like, let's say if someone's defending a musical taste that's like crappy, right? Like just like butt rock, like I took a lot of shit for liking Kiss, let's say, 'cause there's not a lot of complexity in their music, let's say. I take a lot of shit for that. It's harder to really dig in and be like, no, I have to like it because there's nothing there. People who can find a philosophical angle to argue their art, it's rough. No, because that's the thing. If you're clever, you can do that shit. Sometimes it's funny. I'm not against it. It's just, it's hard.
What is the anime movie? Oh God. I can't. Not Princess Mononoke.
Spirited Away.
Yeah, that one. I love that movie.
Yeah,
and I was never like an anime. Like I used to watch Bleach.
I was never. All my friends were anime. They watched Dragon Ball Z, and I choked it down, pretending to be like, "Oh yeah, fun." But
yeah,
boy, oh boy, so few of them hit, and that was good. But that's the thing. It's the storytelling. I did not fall into the pattern of Dragon Ball Z because it felt so long-winded and boring to me. It was just stale storytelling, and I wasn't one to get all juiced up over like the power levels of imaginary cartoon characters.
Oh, I love Bleach. I think, in my opinion, I haven't seen a lot of anime shows, but I loved watching Bleach. And like, I mean, I think I watched it way later than like I didn't go every week, I don't think, until there was a new episode, or maybe I did, I don't remember. It was in college. It was so good, and there wasn't like that kind of leveling up kind of crap. It was
because you're watching it, it's just a story based in a cartoon, whatever. Like, you know, it's sometimes things that you don't expect will hit big in the public eye. Like zombies is a weird thing that became just publicly accepted, or like this was sort of a niche rise, but like. There was a run on Korean soap operas. Like they blew up on Netflix for a little while, which was weird. And you go, well, why? It must, you know, it's just the storytelling or something about it speaks to people on such a level that it'll transcend language barriers. It'll transcend genres. And that's why I keep pushing my key moments into other genres to other people. Like when I bring up Altered Carbon, or maybe The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Those are my gateway drugs that led me into, you know, the genres of sci-fi and Western that sort of led me in. Like, oh yeah, all stories can be told in whatever setting. They just have to be told well.
Right.
And don't rely on tropes, because it says reconnection successful, but I'm going to pretend like it isn't until proven otherwise. Getting disheartened about this connection.
There, we're back, yeah.
Every week.
Yes, Robert Pattinson hates Twilight now. I don't blame him.
Well, yeah, obviously, because like especially actors, everybody feels this way. They don't want to be like a one-note person. Like nobody wants to be known, unless you're one of those fuddy-duddies who are like, yeah, I've been in the same company for 45 years. But most people like are at least our age, are getting less and less attached to being known as something. It's, or at least, I don't know, maybe to me it feels better to be a jack of all trades than to be an expert in one thing, because then either you're going to get hit up by everybody for that thing. Like when I was an electrician, people always bugging me to do stuff. I would just rather be not known for anything but good at mostly everything.
Yeah. Jill wants to know your opinions of Westworld.
I haven't seen it. We don't have HBO or HBO Plus or HBO Go or any of that stuff. I only know of it from what I hear, which is good, but again, there are so many pools from which to drink. It's hard to get your thirst quenched at all of them regularly. Go where you
think is best for you.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
I almost bought friggin' a subscription to Paramount Plus because of a new series that there is coming out with Stallone in it.
Right. You know what I think is going to happen? And mark my words, because whatever, things move in cycles. But recently, I've been really enjoying Pluto TV because it's basically everything that was syndicated from, I don't know, the 60s or 50s to the 90s. So there's game shows, like I've been watching a bunch of Supermarket Sweep and stuff. And like, oh, whoa, it's free, drop in anytime. And it's basically the idea of live TV, a fairly established concept for about 100 years, offered as if it's just some gimmick. It's like, hey, drop in whenever you want and watch whatevs. You'll get commercials that you can't skip, but you can watch what, and like, we'll offer you real, genuine content. I'm like, bitch, this is just TV. Yeah, Pluto TV.
Yeah.
Like, you added Pluto to it, but it's just TV. Still, you get on the internet. I love it, but it's still just TV. I think we're going to eventually go back to that shit because, like, imagine getting, it's great that we get to be charged for every network out there, but like, CBS, NBC, they all had a fair playing field because advertisers would do their thing. But if you have to pay for the stuff and then they put the commercials there anyway, why don't we just go back to that?
Right.
Plus, I think, my opinion, I think when things are finite or things you have to catch live, they're more precious. I like this being a live format because it's something you have to experience while it happens.
Right. It's like Friday night primetime TV. Like, at 7:30 your primetime show starts.
You get something to look forward to instead of like, seasons getting released on a streaming service or if they drop every week or whatever necessarily, because some will do that. It just feels sort of nebulous, but a nice set schedule of live things that maybe even are just reruns are comforting because there's a lot of, it's kind of like a Pavlovian experience because like if you watch YouTube a lot, you're waiting for that skip ads button to come, right?
Right.
So it's sort of every time your video stops and the ads come up, an agitation starts because you're waiting for the countdown. If you don't see the countdown, it says you'll fuck off. It'll happen when it happens. You go, God damn it! But something like Pluto TV, you go, well, you sit back and relax because they're there.
30 seconds of commercials.
Yeah, you've got it. Like and they're not going to. At least they haven't yet. Like YouTube sometimes will pump 40 minutes of ads every 10 minutes of video, whereas like Pluto TV, it's just like old TV. You
Right.
just sit back and here's the thing I love about it too, and I miss it, and I'm glad they're coming back, but there are local commercials getting played on Pluto TV. I just saw a commercial for a guy looking to buy and sell houses here in the valley with a local phone number and everything.
Huh.
And it was shot just as poorly as every home shot commercial has ever been shot. And thank God they're back.
That's kind of cool.
Because on YouTube, all the ads are pretty slick because they're digitally produced or whatever. People are doing that. But like for local companies, where are they going to go? And it's nice to have them target here on Pluto because, it's nice to see Hastings finally break into YouTube. But they're big. Like they're a law firm here in Arizona that's been here for a long time. So they got money to throw at a YouTube type thing where I feel like Pluto is probably a little cheaper.
Probably like PBS kind of.
Seeing as I saw a guy with gin blossoms on his nose be like, let me buy your goddamn house. that looked like it was filmed on a handy cam he bought in 1999. I go, well, Crackle. Yeah, I tried Crackle. I don't know. The gimmick of the live streaming, whatever, broadcast, the live TV channels, I love. And the fact that they offer that that interface that looks like the old cable, you can scroll through shit. I love that shit. Because it's, like I was targeting to you earlier, when you don't know what you want, and what you're offered is a portal to everything. The internet is basically everything and anything. You go, well, God, what do I want? When it's in front of you and it's a scrolling wheel, it goes, well, you can watch this now, you can watch this now, and it's a concrete decision. You can go, oh, well, thank God somebody's made some choices for me and narrowed it down.
Yeah.
Then you can bumblefuck your way through a few choices because it feels daunting to stare into the abyss. That's why I'm glad live TV is coming back, and I knew it would. I'm sure in IRL shopping will come back. All of these things that we need to feel value, or they have to come back.
Well, I don't necessarily think like live shopping has gone too far. I mean, I know, yes, like I primarily shop on Amazon and things online because...
Well, for like impulse things, yeah. I feel like, but
yeah, I used to,
I still like going there and
like
whatever.
Christmas shopping, I used to go to the mall and...
Yeah, for C&J Dev, the Roku, my buddy Scott has a Roku, and
oh yeah,
he's constantly pushing it on me, and I'm probably going to end up getting one eventually too because of all those free old movie channels, because he'll do that thing that I'm sure is becoming more and more popular, or is always been a thing, but he'll just put an old movie on or something as background noise in a room of the house and go about and do chores. Like in this studio, I've got a setup over here where I'll turn on something to just fill the silence, whether it be an old cartoon or some game shows or whatever. It's nice to have some white noise to walk in and just have a...
Well, I wonder if Fire Stick... We've got like 3 Fire Sticks. I wonder if those have stuff too.
Oh, yeah. Those are basically the same thing.
Peacock, I think, is one of those free things also.
Yeah, it definitely takes a share because, like...
Convenience.
Online shopping is something I throw into the slot of, like, I literally am not going to get in the car and drive to Target to get a bottle brush since I can get one on Amazon. It's not worth my fucking life to get in the car and drive and fight traffic and interact with other people who are going to be, in public around Christmas. So I'm getting at. And so you throw a couple of those everyday items, but like shoes, clothes, anything you're going to be interacting with on a daily basis, you want to get in the face of and like smell and touch.
Yeah.
It's a much more, because we're hunter-gatherers at the heart of ourselves. And if we're not hunting and gathering IRL, because, scrolling, you can see a lot more stuff in a shorter time, but it doesn't scratch that itch to me. It's going to die hard because it's been in us for thousands upon thousands of years that we want to go and run around and look for stuff.
That's true. Every once in a while I'll go grocery shopping myself, but a lot of times I do the pickup just because it's easier to do during the day with a 4-year-old.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's going to vary from time to time, and sometimes I'll just stop in to pick something up to feel like, value. I burnt the calories on this, and I'm going to enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
But because all of our creature comforts are sort of leading us toward that Wall-E, like everybody's fat in a chair sort of thing. But I don't think that's realistic because the human spirit will never die. There'll always be the chair dwellers, the whatever. But most of us want to get up and walk around and see stuff. No matter how lazy you get, you're curious. Humans are curious. And for that reason alone, we're going to want to get up and like touch stuff and feel it. And like, I don't know. So an experience that I'm ashamed to enjoy is like when we walk into it, because it doesn't happen very often anymore, or hasn't in a long time. There's a shop down there, like the Burlington Coat Factory.
Oh, yeah.
It's basically just an outlet that's like a football field sized indoor store that's just a bunch of factory outlet shit. And a part of me gets a thrill because you go, oh my God, what could be in there?
Well, yeah, that's the same like when when Kmart was a thing, and like Bradley's and Caldor's and
Yeah.
all those places.
But the thing is, it's like going to the beach to dig up, buried treasure in your mind versus like looking at a map and imagining it from Nebraska. It's fun to like look on Amazon and be like, oh, 70% off. Like, what does it look like though? Whatever. Because like, and that's the thing too. Like, if you see something that's ridiculous in person, it's easier to sway you into buying something stupid versus online.
Yeah.
Because you have to stop and think and go through a couple of clicking menus. But like, I own some shit in my closet, or at least I have over the years, that like, would come out of fucking a clown's repertoire. But if it's like $2, neon colors are acceptable at a certain price. Or corduroy pants or like paisley shit.
Well, and that's the thing, like you said, you wouldn't look, when you go to a store like that and don't know what you're looking for or aren't looking for anything, you're not going to look for that thing you find there on Amazon.
It's what, like the whole concept of the night is like stumbling upon something. Does that still exist? That app, Stumble Upon or whatever, where you just find random shit? I'm sure it doesn't. But that's what is one of the great things about being human is the element of surprise and falling into something that has existed possibly your entire life and beyond, only for you to like accidentally find it and be like, where have you been all my life? Because I think that's a fun feeling.
That's how I feel with plants, like my house plants, and then discovering air plants and what air plants were, and then making a whole business because I never knew what air plants were.
Because there are two ways you can come about it, where it's like something ubiquitous that just seems boring until you take the first step, or something you've never heard of that you go, oh my God, I had no idea that this vein ran this deep or whatever.
Yeah, we don't shop at Walmart, CNJ Dev.
I miss Kmart. I do miss Kmart.
Kmart was fun. Bradley's, I mean, they're not out here. They weren't out here. They were just out east, I think. But
that's fine. We haven't shopped at Walmart either in years.
Yeah, it's been like 10 years.
It's so gross. Like, here's the thing, whatever. There are certain, I don't know. I don't want to come off as like a snob or a pain in the ass or anything, but there are certain experiences that are so much better if you just are willing to expend a little more of whatever you think is valuable in cases of money or time or whatever. And like, you can put these two together, they probably are the same, like on the karmic scale or morally or ethically or whatever, but like Target versus Walmart, it feels less gross to shop at Target, and it's basically the same as Walmart, but everything's just a little more expensive, and that's just enough to keep me coming back. Some people want but I don't want to denigrate the other side, because some people love going to places and wading through that shit because it like the hunt of the deal. You feel like a hunter when you find something on clearance or if it's already marked down or whatever. So I get the appeal, but that ain't me right now, man. Like maybe someday, and I did do that in my youth, but now I want to fucking have a nice laid back, lazy ass experience. Basically everywhere.
All of the Walmarts out by Kayla are self-checkout. Wow. Yeah. Oh, and Stumble Upon is defunct as of 2018.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. Like,
I'd never even heard of it.
It was only tickling the back of my memory because like it was one of those things where I was like, I'll see what happens, and obviously here we are. It has to get to a certain point before I'll jump on board. Like the flagship social medias I'll stay on, like I'm still grandpa on Facebook, because like who's on that, right? Me, bunch of old people.
I only use Instagram and Facebook. Twitter I cannot.
But that's the thing, saying like this now is like old news because there are so many new ones, and like Meta. I want to get into that AR or VR, whatever it is, before it dies completely, so I'll have a chance to like get in one of those fun chat rooms or whatever. For this may be the last gasp of virtual reality for a while before Meta goes billionaire bankrupt, because Mark Zuckerberg is single-handedly trying to bring the internet to everybody in the world.
Oh Jesus.
But neither here nor there in between. Point is, you don't know what's gonna hit you.
It's true. It's crazy.
And that's why there's so much to look at when it comes to this subject, because the things that do hit you go, whoa, where did they come from, or why, or do you even care where or why they hit the way they do? Do you even want to integrate them in, or just have them be those guilty pleasures? Because there are some things like, like back when iPods were a thing, and I still miss them. You could have like a playlist that was like 1,000,000 years long, because you could curate it from a single source. And now I feel like everywhere I go is a pain in the ass. And nobody owns their own music anymore, so it's all Spotify. But back when a curated playlist would happen, it would be like 6 or 8 hours, and so you could comfortably hide all your guilty pleasures in there, because if they came up, you were typically alone because of the luck of the draw, or you recognize the intro quickly enough that you could skip past them, so you weren't embarrassed in front of your friends.
True. I have a couple songs that if I had them like myself, I would add them to my car. Baby Got Back. I don't know why, but I love that. And like, Shoop by Salt and Pepper. I'll sing that song. Some things
just like they're such fun gimmicks. Like, I don't know, it's like the term bubblegum pop is thrown around, but like there's a bubblegum version of basically everything where it's just sweet and chewy, and it's nice to go back to over and over again. I feel like Baby Got Back is one of those. Like, it's not super controversial. Like, everybody from like a 12-year-old at a bowling alley can hear it come on and be entertained by it just as much as a 55-year-old, because there's not really much going on. They can look at their friends and go, oh my God, he's talking about butts. There's some stuff that just span generations. And, it can be seen as cheap or sell out because there's nothing really great about Sir Mix-a-Lot.
No.
You say he's a pioneer or whatever, but I wouldn't.
Same with Salt and Pepper. Like, there's not.
Yeah, there's going to be places where, some people just like eating junk food. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, because I want people to avoid that pitfall if you can't integrate it with yourself, because it'll be a struggle. Because what we'll do is we'll try to justify our shittier tastes, and we'll get into that argument where someone will point to the thing that we like that is pretty superficial. I go, no, because I actually like this, and this. You don't know this about them. You try to like layer the facts or the interesting tidbits or whatever. But like, let's be real. Like, not everything needs to have any cultural significance. And because I just watched a short documentary on Nickelback and like where their hate came from and how like it just grew and became like a meme and like a cultural event unto itself. But, like him or hate him, they were there doing their thing.
I listened to them when I was younger, when they were like in their prime, when I was like,
it's okay to like things ironically. It's okay to like things unironically. It's okay to lie to yourself and others. Just, don't beat yourself up over it. If because we all have those things that we like that someone goes, oh my God, you like that? And your first instinct. It's like when you get caught falling asleep. And someone goes, were you sleeping? Your first instinct, no, never. I never sleep.
Resting my eyes.
Don't even ask me. I blinked, had a thought. Anyway, moral of the story is I wasn't sleeping, and what do you want? It's like that. Anytime someone goes, you like, maybe it's just in the phrasing. It's like, do you like, or were you just, you go, no!
Well, it's a judgmental ask. It's not, like when you're asked that, they're judging you. Like, do you like Barbie Girl by Aqua?
I worked with a girl. She was a really big into emo. Like when that was at, proto, before it went big, like mainstream, as mainstream it did go. She was proto that, like aggressive black hair, short, like very dark eye makeup and like gauged ears and shit. And like I was, again, working at Zia. Either right before or right after, so I had a bunch of just shitty music I collected that you just come across, and so I was constantly made fun of because the lyrics were basically metal lyrics. They were cheesy and shitty and stuff, but since her lyrics were very austere and they were very emotional and they made emo, how emo people feel about their music,
right?
It's hard to argue over someone who finds worth in something, because sure, like when you're crying and listening to My Chemical Romance or whatever, it definitely is a legitimate experience to you, but it looks like really sad on the outside to me.
CNJ Dev says Nickelback is somewhat talented musicians making a few decent songs.
That's the thing. Like,
well,
they are like, let's say, they're closely related to like Hootie and the Blowfish. When Hootie and the Blowfish hit, they got hit after hit after hit piece of like, this is a local bar band that's D-grade that shouldn't have. Because it's the same thing that happened to Nickelback. People say, well, if it weren't played by radio stations, it wouldn't be as popular. And so,
that's true.
If you got a person or organization throwing a shit ton of money into something so it's constantly getting airplayed, because literally, I think there's a statistic that for a certain amount of time, anywhere on the world, there was never not a Nickelback song being broadcast over the airwaves.
I could see that. Look at this photograph. Who doesn't laugh when you say, look at this
right, and that's the thing. It became a meme. And, that there's currency in that. But, again, like Hootie and the Blowfish, nothing special about them. Nothing, they weren't especially talented. Nothing about them was especially deep. They were a pretty flat line group. But somebody picked them to push, and they got pushed.
There was one of their dirty songs that I liked, and it may have been Something in Your Mouth. I don't remember. C&J Dev. Barbie Girl is one of their songs I like, ironically. Yeah, that's like Me and like Bitch by Meredith Brooks, the 90s song. I fucking love that song. It's not like the words aren't great because she's like a narcissist, but it's a great song.
Some of those things were like the music and the melody and the structure of it hit so hard. You go, well, fuck it. Because some people will hassle you about the lyrics of a song, and if you're just in it for the melody or the structure of it, and it hits you on like, because music is a language that transcends everything. So if it speaks to you in such a way that it, you can look past the irrelevance of the lyrics or whatever.
Yeah, that's the same.
You can't shout that down.
That's like Steel Panther. I love
wildly talented,
but they're
technically
dirty.
Skilled. But yeah, their stuff, by and large, won't be taken seriously.
No, they're...
Because when you enter into the realm of art, and as soon as you call something art, it needs to be, worthy or whatever. But, as much as nobody would want to, on this side of the fence admit it, but the Insane Clown Posse, their music was art. Like the culture they created was an artistic expression of something, like as weird and degenerate or whatever as you want to call it.
I don't think I ever really heard a whole ICP song. I used to love System of a Down.
Yeah, they were good.
They're good.
But yeah, ICP hit when I was a kid too, and but then it went back under the radar and under the water. But it's weird when stuff like that fringe will hit the public's eye, and it's just like when it happens to you. Like if something happens big, like to me, and I'm on the outside, I don't see why it's big. I Dane Cook, zombies, Korean soap operas, whatever. And you go, how is this happening? It's confusing to see it happen, and it's confusing to feel it happen.
CNJ Des says, Iconopop, I love it, is a stupid song that makes me laugh. So I like it, ironically.
Yeah. Okay, so also...
And Rammstein.
Yeah, Rammstein. Here's the thing about Rammstein is by and large, this is just my opinion, it feels like European metal is very straightforward. There's where American metal, there's a little more poetry and a little more subterfuge about the meaning in the lyrics, whereas European metal bands are very overt about the message in their shit. And Rammstein feels like I don't know any of their lyrics by heart or translated, but I see why people like them because it's very rhythmic and it amps you up. But their pattern is so lockstep, and it's kind of boring once you land on it. Because Tillman, the lead singer, basically just talks for a few bars, then he sings the chorus, and talks for the next 30, 45 seconds, and then sings the chorus. And that's bar none all their songs, even his solo stuff where he's doing with Peter What's-His-Nuts from Pain. Now, if it's a working formula, I get it because Law and Order, Lockstep, MASH, House, any of these things fill a pattern. But if you see through that veil and you go, oh my God, oh no, if you were hanging on by a thread, because like there's nothing really outstanding about Rammstein to me personally. There's no huge flavor. It was just a nice, like he's got an interesting voice. It was a nice medley of distortion or whatever. Once you see like, oh God, it's the same song again. That's how I feel about Stephen King. If you don't mind seeing through the veil and like looking at the pattern, being like, uh-oh, again.
Out of all the songs that I've heard from Rammstein, I think Du Hast, I think it's called, was my favorite song. I don't know what they're saying. They could be saying something absolutely terrible.
But doesn't matter.
But
yeah, the Moscow song was good. But yeah, that's the thing. Like think about any Rammstein song you've ever heard. It's, very formulaic. You can pick it out. He talks and there's singing and there's talking, very like driving guitars, nothing, but it's a catchy formula. So I can't knock it. It's obviously very popular. And that's what people want, I think, is sometimes you just want a steady supply of the thing that you want. And that's why people binge shit like.
Well, I love Breaking Benjamin, but I feel like all of their songs are the same.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah, that's true. And like there's a lot of them out there, like Thornley or whatever. They have technically they're fine, but there's nothing about them that. That's the thing about art is if you make it, it could really speak to you, but it can fall flat if it doesn't transfer. Like if your specific vision of whatever doesn't translate to other people's interior compass, sorry. It's just the way it goes.
Right. Oh, Du Hast is apparently a lot of people's favorite songs, and it's also C&J Dev's.
Yeah, it's a good song. Don't get me wrong. I enjoy it. His solo stuff recently he's been doing is good. I can't complain. It's just it's Rammstein again.
Right.
Yeah. If you like that, it's like I can't knock Vanilla Ice Cream. It's not gonna blow anybody away. But if you like it, you like it. You can do it really well. Or you can do it shittily. Like a Breyer's Vanilla Bean will knock your dick in the dirt. Whereas like one of those fucking clown hammer looking tubs of goo that you get for $3 for 4 gallons or whatever, says it's vanilla, Is it the same experience? Not really. Because a familiar thing when done extremely well it's good. Yeah, America was good. Yeah, the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
That whole album. I mean, plus their aesthetic is pretty interesting. Dude's voice can carry a tune.
Yeah.
And especially like a deep voice can cash a lot of checks and make up for a lot of, or an interesting voice, I should say. It doesn't necessarily have to be deep. It can be raspy or weird. Like Macy Gray, like, her gimmick was her gimmick and there it was.
Who was that? I asked you about the band the other day that sings that song.
Oh, Crash Test Dummies.
His voice is super crazy, but I don't know any other songs by them. But like.
Yeah, you're just living off of that thing.
That one song. But it's a good one.
How do you, because since art is so subjective, how do you know what to produce? And some people, it's like you can be a god of probability and everything can just go your way because everything you do happens to align with what the common status quo or whatever is connectable.
Yeah. Or
sometimes you die and then it goes big. You don't know. That's part of it too. Is like you're sitting here and you can find something that like when I found H.P. Lovecraft, he'd been already dead for 120 years. But I found him and I was like, whoa, where have you been all my life? Or, your life, because you've been dead. You never know what's going to hit. And now that everything gets archived, you get to wipe the excuse of being old or too young or too anything anymore because it's all available all the time. I've said that
true.
before. Anyway, guys, we've been going